All right, let's talk about Overlord's third season, because this is where everything changed. It's a season packed with some absolutely incredible highs and some truly, truly unforgettable lows. We're going to break down exactly why it's known as such a flawed masterpiece.
So this is it. This is the season where the mask just completely comes off. The show stops sort of pretending that its protagonist, Ainz Ooal Gown, is a misunderstood anti-hero. Nope, he fully embraces his role as the terrifying, world-ending monster that everyone else sees him as.
I mean, we get the whole shebang, kingdom building, these intense dungeon raids, and honestly, one of the most brutal reality checks I've seen in a modern anime. But at the same time, we get some of the most baffling animation choices ever. So that's what we're going to do today. Break down the brilliant story and the tragic CGI of Overlord Season 3. And to really get a handle on this, you got to look at how we got here. So Season 1, that was all about Ainz just cautiously poking around this new world, right? Figuring things out. Then Season 2 was all about building out that world, introducing us to all these different characters and factions. But Season 3, whoa, that's unmasked conquest. The gloves are completely off, and Ainz is playing for keeps. Okay, so first, let's dive into what makes this season so good. And that is the story. The absolute highlight, without a doubt, is the Invaders of the Great Tomb arc. For the very first time, we get to see the Tomb of Nazarick operate exactly as it was designed to, as an unbeatable, horrifying, player-killing death trap. So this whole arc revolves around these groups of people called workers. Now, these are not your typical heroic adventurers. Think of them more like mercenaries who operate outside the official guilds. They take on the shady, high-risk jobs for massive payouts. And their latest gig? Raid a newly discovered tomb that's supposed to be completely empty. And this is where the show does something just absolutely brilliant. It zeroes in on one team in particular, a group called Foresight. And we really get to know them. We learn their backstories, their dreams. One of them wants to earn enough to free her sisters, another's just trying to pay off some crushing debts. They're just so incredibly human and relatable. And man, that is the trap. It's not just a trap for them inside the tomb, it's a trap for us, the people watching. You actually start rooting for them. You almost forget whose show you're watching. You really, for a second, think that maybe they're the heroes of this story. And then, well, then they meet Ainz. This arc just draws a brutal line in the sand. It proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that in the world of Overlord, all your hopes, your dreams, your bonds, your power of friendship, it all means absolutely nothing when you're up against a level 100 player with maxed out stats. Their end is cruel and tragic, and what makes it even worse is that it was all so avoidable. That's what makes it so perfectly, horrifyingly Overlord. But see, this wasn't just Ainz being cruel for the sake of it. Oh no, this was a political masterstroke. He used their invasion of his tomb. It was all a calculated play to show off his overwhelming power, to justify his claim to all the land around the tomb, and to officially put his new nation, the Sorcerer Kingdom, on the map. And this leads to some of the absolute best and funniest political stuff in the whole series. We meet Emperor Jerkinif, who's probably the smartest human ruler around, and we just watch him completely psych himself out, trying to play 4D chess against Ainz, convinced he's dealing with some kind of 1,000-year planning genius. But the reality, which is just hilarious, is that Ainz is mostly just lucky and bumbling his way into success, while his own team thinks he's a strategic god. It's amazing. Okay, but now, deep breath. We gotta talk about the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the horribly rendered bouncing CGI elephant in the room. Yeah, the animation. Look, this season's climax is supposed to be the Battle of Katsi Plains. This moment is legendary in the books. It's this iconic, terrifying scene where Ainz uses a single super tier spell to summon these horrific monsters and just annihilate an army of 70,000 soldiers. This was supposed to be the most jaw-dropping moment of the entire series. And the disconnect between what was promised and what we got, it's just staggering. What's described on the page as this terrifying Lovecraftian nightmare? Well, on screen, it looked like a cutscene from an old PlayStation 2 game. Those terrifying monsters, the Dark Young, they just sort of bounced, like giant evil space hoppers. I mean, the problems were just everywhere.
You had these human armies that looked like they were just copy-pasted plastic toy soldiers. The monsters themselves had zero sense of weight or scale. And the craziest part? This came from Madhouse, a legendary studio. It just makes the whole thing even more baffling.
Seriously, go back and watch that scene and just pay attention to the physics. The amount of actual physical weight, the menace that these supposedly soul-crushing monsters have is effectively zero. They just kind of float and hop around. It's wild. And that's the real crime here. The story that's unfolding, the actual events, are epic. But the visuals are so distracting and so bad that they just completely shatter the immersion. You get pulled right out of what should be a horrifying, awesome moment because you're either cringing or laughing at the animation. So where does that leave us? How are you supposed to score a season that's got a story this good, but animation that's, well, that? It's time to deliver the verdict on this deeply flawed masterpiece. When it comes right down to it, even with all those visual problems, you just can't skip Season 3. This story is that important. It ties together everything from the first 2 seasons and just completely upends the status quo of the entire world. Ainz isn't a secret anymore. He's a king, a real power player on the world stage. And that's why, really, the final score has to be split right down the middle. For the story, for the characters, the politics, the world building, it's a solid 8 out of 10. It is fantastic. But for the animation, especially in that final crucial battle, it's a 4 out of 10. It's just a massive letdown that really holds the season back from being a true all-time great. So here's the bottom line. If you are at all invested in the world and the story of Overlord, this season is completely unskippable. What happens here is way too important to the overall plot. Just, maybe be ready to squint a little during the big army scenes. And that brings me to a final question I want to leave with you. Thinking back on Team Foresight and what happened to them, did they get what they deserved for breaking the law and invading someone's home? Or did Ainz's response go way, way too far into pure, irredeemable villainy? Let me know what you think.